AM 950, The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome in to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps, and on our stream, YouTube, Twitch, at The Fan Rochester, our channel there. Danger here, Battaglia there.
Hello, how are you today?
All right today, you know, I mean, lots that you could be upset about, but I'm choosing to be positive. I'm not even, and the weather isn't affecting me at all. I'm not going to let the gray skies and the snowy and the cold weather, nothing.
Oh, it's the holiday season, dude.
Holiday season.
Yeah, holiday season. Look at the lights. Go home and fix yourself a nice stiff one tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good. I'm at the point where I'm just an id. Like Shannon, our sales assistant, came around, had a little Debbie's. She's like, "Would you like one?"
Oh, the little Debbie's. She's handing them out to everybody.
Yeah, like I'm yum yum yum. I'm like, it's usually the time of year where people bring in food and there'll be cookies and everything. I don't say no to anything.
I haven't had many Christmas cookies. My mother-in-law will it's a deluge of Christmas cookies, Italian cookies, whatever it is. They're in the house. But I live with 3 women, and they all eat the cookies. That's for them. But you're talking snacks, I'm in. It's like I am taking full advantage of the Nerds gummy clusters that are left over upstairs from Halloween, the snacks that are just kind of circulating, and I had one of those little Debbie's too. She knows.
Okay,
Shannon knows. She brought one. She said Jimmy, I guess, Jimmy in the office had never had one of those before. You never had a little Debbie snack cake? Never? What? Depriving yourself. Indulge. Go ahead. I did. Feel a little guilty about it, but, you know, it's the holiday season. Can't be upset.
That's what we have January for, bud.
Yeah.
Resolutions, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. We've got a full show for you this afternoon. Lots of action, including Andy Behrens from the Deep Shot. Fantasy football playoff season is upon us. In most leagues, you're heading into the postseason now. Who do you stash for a playoff run? Andy Behrens will give us some thoughts and preview Week 15, coming up right around 4:25 this afternoon. And before we get to Andy at 4 o'clock, I'm excited for this conversation. Carl Jones, WIVB, joins us. Carl played at Syracuse.
Yeah, and he breaks down the Bills very, very well. Like, you listen to Carl, and my number one question is, okay, what do you do this time around against Diggs?
That's it. Carl, if we're being selfish, we have you in here for one reason and one reason only. What do the Bills do to neutralize Diggs? Because it didn't work Week 5. What are you doing? Are you shadowing him with Benford? Are you moving guys into the slot if Diggs lines up in the slot? What's your plan? Carl Jones will share his thoughts.
Well, he's got an interesting TikTok out today, which, how did they get away with the Bengals? It was doing things that are very risky. All right, corner blitzes, that sort of thing. So is this the new norm of the Bills' defense? Is this going to be the MO? Because the first half, hey, that wasn't going so well. Second half, all right, you forced the big plays there, and it came out when it mattered most. I would expect the Patriots to be a little bit more buttoned up than the Bengals' offense, more overall. But can those sort of things, or should you just keep rolling the dice here? And Carl draws this analogy like going to casino right now. That's how the Bills are playing defense.
I also am curious to see if this trend of the Bills being good against the run continues, or if it's more an indictment on who they've been stopping the last 2 weeks, because Travion Henderson is fast. And if it's the speed guys that get the Bills into trouble, then you would expect that would be something that happens this weekend. Or are they actually getting better at defending the run? Defense has stepped up when they've needed to step up. They've been very bend but don't break. So Carl Jones will talk about this Bills defense taking on New England on Sunday. He's joining us at 4 o'clock. And later this hour, right around 3:25, 3:30 or so, our buddy Kent Sterling, Sterling in the Morning in Indianapolis, will be joining us. Indianapolis, why? Well, because Indianapolis right now, for me, is the center of the NFL universe. I want to know when they're going to make the announcement, because every indication that you've gotten out of Colts practice is that it's going to be Phillip Rivers on Sunday.
Well, I don't think they can make the announcement until he officially is on the roster, which he is not at this point. You know how that works. Practice squad elevations happen on Saturday. So Saturday afternoon, we'll all be doing our own thing, whatever that is. You'll get the alert on your phone. Phillip Rivers has been activated. Okay, he didn't come back to back up Riley Leonard or Brett Rimmett.
Right.
He came back to start. So if he realizes, hey, I'm not the starter this week, I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me if he's, all right, you know what, guys, this was fun. This isn't for me. I want to be in the Hall of Fame here shortly and not reset my clock here. But yesterday, his press conference, it was Shecky Rivers there talking about his weight, talking about his family. You know, it's a different, you know, media group there in Indianapolis. They're not really hard hitting like you would get in some other cities like Philly and Boston. And yes, I would say Buffalo, but you know, good on Phillip Rivers. I cannot wait to see this, Danger. I just wish for his sake, though, they waited until a softer opponent. But you look at the schedule, it doesn't seem like there's going to be too many soft opponents here for the Colts.
Right now, the Colts have just a 19% chance of slotting into the 7 seed in the AFC playoff picture. They have a better chance of missing the playoffs. So, you know, if you're a Colts fan and you're wondering why are we doing this? It's desperation. This is your last-ditch Hail Mary attempt at winning some football games, because you control your destiny at that 7 seed. You have a 19% chance of doing it. You can win your games out, and you can win that 7 seed. You have a 65% chance right now of missing the postseason altogether. So chances are it's too little too late, and the Daniel Jones injury doomed them, but we'll see. We'll see what Phillip Rivers brings to the day. I am excited to see what that looks like if and when they name him the starter against Seattle in the late window on Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Kent Sterling stops by the sports bar here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. You can join us anytime on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That number is 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
Yeah, as we were in happy hour yesterday and like, oh, wait a second, breaking news. Michigan's parting ways with Sherrod Moore. Oh, all right, well, you know, this day and age, maybe they just want a fresh start. You were short expectations this year. They're not in the playoff. Oh, wait, he's fired with cause. And we were served up the story that, oh gosh, he had an inappropriate relationship, and there's a zero tolerance policy at Michigan, like other places. And then, Danger, I don't know what time it was for you, and I was just looking at my phone last night like, what?
Yeah.
What? He's in custody? What? And to bring you up to speed, nothing has changed since that point. He remains in custody. No charges have been filed yet. But if it's being slow played like this and he's still behind bars, it just kind of tells me okay, this is a serious situation. And
it's ongoing, right?
Yeah.
So we'll reserve the rush to judgment. We've kind of gotten into I think in society, we love to rush to judgment and paint a picture of what this guy must be. And you know, look, these allegations are not great allegations for Moore. I mean, you know, firing with cause is just the start. If you read some of what's being reported here, this doesn't paint a very good picture it paints a picture of a pretty bad guy. In fact, a really bad guy, if what's being reported is even remotely true. But just to kind of give you the timeline here, this story actually dates back to mid-November. In the middle of November, you had an anonymous tip into the athletic department at the University of Michigan alleging that Moore was in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member, reportedly executive assistant Paige Shiver. And then they conducted a confidential internal investigation. Again, this is in the middle of November. And then you go to earlier this month, the investigators found credible evidence that corroborated the tip. So the anonymous tip led to the investigation. The investigation found the evidence, and now you've got cause. Rumors had come out, and this is where it gets unsavory.
Mm-hmm.
Rumors have come out about abortions, stalking, salary spikes, and even attempted murder. None have been confirmed. Those are rumors. And then we had yesterday, where university officials shared their findings to the athletic director at University of Michigan. They made the decision to terminate the contract immediately for cause. So Moore, as it's been told, as it's been reported, caught wind that he was in some sort of trouble because his staff and the team met with the athletic director without him. And it's at that point, somewhere in that neighborhood, that Moore leaves the facilities and heads to an apartment complex. Then right around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, police are called to a residence in Ann Arbor regarding a domestic dispute. And that's where Moore is detained by the police department.
Ooh, okay, so hold up. 4 o'clock yesterday, he's detained. When did we learn?
4 o'clock, police are called.
They're called. Okay, then when did we get the statement from Michigan? Like that's what I'm trying to realize. Like, did Michigan, oh my God, our guy's going to get arrested? You know what? What we had here, we got to be out in front of this.
Yeah, right.
We got to mitigate whatever lawsuits coming our way.
And by the way, this story is explosive. This is a salacious, scary story about a guy that's been the head coach at University of Michigan for the last 2 years. So we shouldn't be shocked that some of what we're hearing now, some of the narrative around this story is, who's next for Michigan? Who's the next head man? Who's going to be the next head coach? Yeah, if you're the University of Michigan, you want to get past this as quickly as you can, because if any of these allegations are true, you've been employing a really, really bad dude for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't want to be virtue signaling here, but can I just say it's unsavory that Schefter coming on, Caleb DeBoer, blah, blah, blah. And there's other shows.
Schefter's a Michigan man.
Yeah, they're calling their media Goombas.
He's a Michigan man.
Let's talk about the football team and how we can, get past this pivot.
Yep, absolutely. He's a Michigan man. He's going to do what the school requests of him. And if that means we're going to talk about who's next, we don't want to talk about the unsavory details of this guy who, by the way, was there with Harbaugh and part of that whole crew. I mean, this is a lot of the same guys that were there with Harbaugh. The old adage, once a cheater, always a cheater, right? You had a culture of cheating. You had guys stealing signs and plays and doing everything they did. They got punished for it, and
Harbaugh's
gone. But, Harbaugh's hands aren't clean. Harbaugh's,
no, he can never go back to college. Basically.
Right.
He's I would just start here. It's still the same AD. What are your procedures there? How do you go about this? I want to know more about this investigation too. We're in the middle of the season and we got a shot at the playoffs, and maybe we can't do this. We still have Ohio State on the schedule. What point did you realize, hey, maybe we actually got to look into this a little bit more? Allegedly, if he was having an affair with his staff member, you don't think the entire team didn't know about this?
You'd have to be way discreet, right? Really, really, really discreet. And I don't know that you can when you're in that high profile a situation under that kind of a microscope. I mean, college football coach, there's a lot of scrutiny, right? Especially at Michigan, especially at Ohio State. You're under the microscope. You've got guys looking to get around you and learn more about you and sizing you up constantly. Boosters, other coaches, players, families now. I mean, everybody sizing you up. So to be in an inappropriate relationship, I don't know how you thought you were going to get away with that, or how you thought you were going to I mean, you're going to hide that from, he has a family, if I'm not mistaken, right? He has.
Married and 3 daughters, 10 years. Yeah.
That's terrible. It's a bad guy. Bad guy.
Well, bad guy. If you just had an inappropriate relationship, I'm sorry, you resign. We all move on. This whole other level, and we're going to wait for the authorities here because, yes, you can find this stuff online, but if we're talking about domestic violence, all right, and maybe that's the why danger. Why do we, in every business now, seemingly, you have this policy of, hey, you really can't do this in the work. It's for this stuff because it could lead to bad things.
Right. Yeah, and if you want to believe some of the rumors that are out there and being reported on, it does not paint a very flattering picture of Coach Moore. And we kind of wait now to see. Like, there hasn't been anything formally charged. He's still detained. He's still at the police station. So what's going on? When will there be an actual statement? Like I said, the school doesn't want to talk about this. They've done their part. He's gone, fired with cause. Let's talk about who the next coach is going to be. They don't want any more egg on their face than they already have for employing this guy if these allegations are true. But why is it taking so long? What exactly is being talked about? What's being said behind closed doors? Is this he said, she said? Where does this all come out? How does it all come out in the wash? I think that's what's still left to be resolved, and kind of that's the part that I think.
Well, I mean, it's the local DA who all of a sudden is going to be on a national stage. You had better be buttoned up. Forwards, backwards. You are doing everything here. You cannot rush this. So I get why we're going to have to wait until tomorrow, maybe even longer, until he's officially arrested or whatever it is. And again, Danger, you and I don't want to get over our skis on this, but I think we recognize just how serious it is. We've had all sorts of scandals in college sports. But can we say, like, this one is the most serious? Like, you and I were not on the air when we realized that Joe Paterno was harboring a child molester, that the school president looked the other way when he learned about the allegations. So how far deep does this go? The AD had to know, right, if they're doing a real investigation. And if the AD knew, did the school president know?
Right.
I would think the college football coach is at worst the third most important employee when it comes to a public image behind president, AD, head football coach.
So who's going to investigate them? Who's going to look into what they knew? Who knew what when? If you believe what's being put out there, then Michigan, the powers that be, the athletic director, the president, they can say, no, we acted on the tip, we investigated the tip, and within a month, we found out, yeah, that's accurate. Let's get this guy off our books and move on. So in there, from how you might view them, what they knew and when, they acted quickly based on what we're hearing. Maybe there was more to it. Maybe they knew, hey, he's not a great guy. Let's face it. He's kind of a scumbag. He's going to cheat on his wife. That's who he is. It's not against the law to have an extramarital affair, but it's against school policy to have that extramarital affair with a staff member, and now you've given them cause. But you're right. How deep does it go? What else? I mean, if they got busted in this era of Michigan football, you have the title. You can always say you have that championship, and we joke tongue in cheek, say, hey, if you're in college football, cheat, because all Michigan really had was a slap on the wrist.
It's a game, though. You had like some guy dressing up as the coach for another team to steal signs. Ha 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 ha! You got away with it. Ha ha. You're talking about again all these things online right now. We'll learn more about it, but at kind of in the middle of this too is the staffer who finds herself in a relationship, and now all of a sudden. Like, why were the authorities called to this residence yesterday? What was that? Was it a threat against her? Because then if that's the case, Danger, holy cow, she's got a real big lawsuit waiting for you, Michigan. She does if the timeline lines up that way. And then because, hey, it's zero tolerance, and now she allegedly is put in harm's way?
Ugly situation. Real ugly.
Yeah, and the thing I just find so unsavory. Oh, let's talk about Kalen DeBoer.
Exactly. It's hilarious.
I'm like, F you.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
F you. And they go, like yesterday, who broke the story yesterday? Adam Schefter. That's the school president, I guarantee. Adam, can you break this here? Ooh, a story. Ooh,
From one Michigan man to another. Can you help us out? Can we start having the conversation about who the next head coach is going to be? Because we really need to deflect. This is an unsavory character that they just got rid of. And they don't want that unsavory character. They don't want to be tagged with that unsavory character for as many years as they've had him. We got Kent Sterling on the way next. I know the alarm is going off.
Whenever I get upset, Danger, is that me?
I think it is you. I think
I start banging my
hands. You raise your voice or you something happens, but you go do that. We'll get Kent Sterling on the line with us next. We'll go to Indianapolis. Right now, the center of the NFL universe where Phillip Rivers practicing once again today, and we'll see if he gets the elevation and gets added to the roster for this weekend's action against Seattle on the West Coast. Kent Sterling, host of Sterling in the Morning on YouTube, joining us next on The Fan.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with
update.
Bills back at work today getting ready for their AFC East showdown in New England. Shaq Thompson, the linebacker, impressed by Drake May.
Coming from the NFC, I wasn't really paying attention to Drake, but the guy's a baller, man. He's all around special talent, that quarterback. He can throw, he can run. He makes great decisions, and for me, he definitely got a lot better since his rookie year, right? I mean, that's what you want to see in a franchise quarterback. That's what you want to see kind of in any player, so he has my respect.
Bills and Patriots, our coverage will begin at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan. Sabres after dark tonight, Buffalo at Vancouver, 10 o'clock for our coverage. The Amherst got 5 of possible 6 points on their 3-game road trip. Team back home coming up Saturday against Lehigh Valley. Jerome Moore remains in custody. The former Michigan head coach is yet to be charged. Authorities have yet to release details on Moore's arrest. Team Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia as we head to the center of the NFL universe this week. Why? Well, the Indianapolis Colts are making waves. They bring in Phillip Rivers, sign him to the practice squad, dust him off of the couch. 44 years old, and we welcome in Kent Sterling, WGCL in Indy, also on YouTube, the Kent Sterling in the Morning Show. Kent, it's always great having you on with us. Thanks for talking Colts with us because, man, when this story happened, I think a lot of us kind of looked at him like, you're kidding, right? No, this looks like this is trending in the direction of Phillip Rivers actually starting down the stretch here for the Indianapolis Colts.
It would be stunning if he didn't start. He took the first reps yesterday in practice, took him today. Riley Leonard was full today at practice, so his knee seems to be responding to treatment. But I don't think Phillip Rivers came to Indianapolis for a haircut. I think he's going to play on Sunday.
I mean, he took Daniel Jones's number, which was his number, I suppose. But, Kat, that's a little if you want Daniel Jones back in the building, I mean, the guy did give you a lot this season.
He did. And this is with Daniel Jones' accommodation. Daniel Jones said, please, wear 17. Phillip, I got great respect for you. And go ahead and have it while I'm not using it. I got no problem with that. I don't know what number Phillip would have worn had Daniel Jones balked at that, but those guys are pretty cooperative and collaborative people. So I don't think there was a big negotiation. I don't think that Phillip Rivers had to buy Daniel Jones a Maserati or some kind of thing, or, you know, even give him like a gift card to Walmart in order to get 17 for a couple of weeks.
Does this do anything for the future of Riley Leonard? I don't know what his grand plan is with the organization, but you mentioned it. He's been a full participant in practice as well. The team has a 65% chance right now of missing the playoffs, so this feels like a Hail Mary, but does it do anything to Leonard's confidence moving forward?
Well, I think it would get Leonard to work. I don't know how hard Riley Leonard works right now, so I can't speak to his diligence, but I would become more diligent, and I would start working harder and make sure that I earned the trust of my coaches in case this kind of opportunity came along again. I don't think that he came into the game this past Sunday against Jacksonville and acquitted himself in a way that the team thought, yes, we believe in Riley Leonard. We're moving forward with him. We feel like he's going to get us to the playoffs.
Ken, we have this good relationship with you over the years, and I remember when we first started out doing the show. Hey, tell us about Andrew Luck. Is he ever going to come back? And no, he definitely is retired. He's in another. Didn't think that there would be another candidate like that. After all, Phillip Rivers, the last time he was on the field, as you know, 300-plus yards in a playoff loss to Buffalo that really went down to the wire. So give us kind of an idea. What was the public reaction in Indianapolis? Was it, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, or that makes sense, I get it? Tell us about the public reaction.
People are very polarized. There's a sect of people who think that the Colts are clinically insane and that everybody should be replaced because this is just foolish and stupid. And then there is another group. They believe that this is the most wonderful thing that could ever happen, that it's breathed new life into this franchise and their love of the franchise. And they feel like, you know what, even if this blows up and it's a complete debacle, this is kind of fun. And we all have a reason to watch on Sunday and believe that something good might happen after the last 4 or 5 weeks when nothing good has happened and they look like they're sleepwalking and things just aren't going the Colts' way. After starting 7-1, everybody was kind of over the moon. It was partly schedule driven. The schedule for the Colts really over the first 8 games, there wasn't a lot going on there that really gave you pause and made you think that, they shouldn't be 7-1. But recently, when the schedule got tougher, things got much more bleak. And at least now Colts fans are looking forward to this weekend and saying, you know what, if this could happen, this is like a movie. And so let's write the movie in our heads. And they go to Seattle and they pick up a win. They win 3 of the last 4. They win the AFC South. They go to the playoffs. Isn't this wonderful? It's like a football version of Hoosiers. We love this kind of thing. And so we're kind of split down the middle. Half the people thinking that the Colts are nuts and half the people just in love with this because it's really fun.
Well, I one thing that I think became apparent here this week in Indianapolis is that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I mean, we saw former owner Jim Irsay bring in Jeff Saturday on a whim to be an interim coach, and we all remember how that turned out. And it turns out Carly Irsay, who I think is doing what she's doing, is unique as it is to be on the sideline and listening in on the headsets. I kind of admire it, and I understand why she's doing it. But again, I would also say to the Colts fan I would understand why a Colts fan would be like, what the hell is going on? Why are we dusting off this guy to bring us wins here down the stretch?
Carly Irsay has no problem dancing to the beat of her own drummer, and her dad was exactly the same way. I think that Carly has, at least to this point, kind of dodged the obstacles that Jim Irsay placed in front of him and kind of curtailed his life and ended his life. I think Carly's kind of got her head on in a different way and maybe learned from the sins of her father. But I kind of dig it. At first I was like, who's that woman on the sidelines wearing the headset and the funny dresses and shoes? And they said, well, that's Carly Irsay Gordon. That's Jim Irsay's daughter. And I said, well, that's the darndest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen any. Georgia Frontiere never did that when she was with the Rams. I wonder what she thinks she's listening to. And so for a while there was some mockery. And then when Jim died and Carly took over, you kind of heard Carly explain she didn't know enough about what was going on. And she was in a position where she had to evaluate the people who were in charge and try to figure out who was responsible for what. And all of a sudden you thought, well, this is kind of a clear-headed woman who's just trying to figure out how responsibilities are doled out in her organization or her family's organization. And so I did begin to admire it. And every time she speaks to the media, you think, okay, all right, well, this is more clear-headed than we've seen a Colts owner be, I don't know, back to like Carol Rosenblum, for goodness sake. So I think that she trusts her people and she trusts Ballard. And she was consulted about all this, but trusts Ballard, the GM, and Steichen, the coach, and they're rolling with this. There was a 0% chance that Riley Leonard was going to be successful as a starting quarterback for the Colts, the current version of Riley Leonard. At least Phillip Rivers, he's the last guy that took the Colts to the playoffs, so we know he can do it. Now, whether he's still got the stuff to be able to do it at the age of 44, that's a different conversation.
Well, it's been such a long season, Kent, that, you go back to the spring, we were still hoping, hey, you know what, let Anthony Richardson figure this out, and we saw him a little bit in the preseason. Like, what does the future hold for that man in Indianapolis right now?
I don't know what kind of future there is, and we were talking about that in the media room today, and that's an interesting question. And some of the guys thought that he is the odds-on favorite as things stand today to be the starting quarterback for the Colts in 2026. Other people thought that was preposterous and that once you burn Steichen, like Shane Steichen is a really nice guy and he's a really good coach, and offensively he knows what he's doing. But when you burn him, when trust erodes and it's gone, it doesn't come back. Like A.D. Mitchell burned that bridge, and that burning that bridge sent him to the Jets. And when Anthony Richardson tapped out, that bridge was burned. And I don't know whether he's going to be able to come back and be I think the decision to start Daniel Jones over Anthony Richardson was made as soon as the ink on that contract was dry. I don't think that there was any kind of a competition between those two guys in camp as was presented to us as what was happening. I think that was gone, long gone. And if they could find a suitor for Anthony Richardson and they could get value back, I think they would have made that deal in a second. And it would really surprise me if Anthony Richardson came back and played any kind of meaningful role with this team.
So that's real interesting, Kent. So where does that leave the Colts at quarterback moving forward? Because you've got a quarterback in Daniel Jones who's a free agent next year, and he's got an Achilles injury now, and you got rid of 2 first-round draft picks to bring in Sauce Gardner, who hasn't been healthy since joining the team. And so I'm just curious as to what the quarterback of the future for the Colts looks like. It can't be Phillip Rivers, I would imagine.
You know, what they hope is that the recovery for Daniel Jones in the rehab is about a 9-month window. And that would put him square in the middle of training camp and maybe give him a legitimate shot at being the starter for the opener in 26. That means that Achilles is going to have to heal the way it's supposed to, and he's going to have to do everything on time and on target. One good thing about this, if there could possibly be a good thing about this, is, somebody like Minnesota who might look at Daniel Jones and say, this is a guy that we want as our quarterback. I doubt that they're going to be bidders, nor would anybody else be a bidder in the Daniel Jones sweepstakes because nobody knows whether he's going to be healthy. And given that he's had an Achilles tear, people are going to be much more skeptical about his health moving forward. I don't know whether the Colts are going to be able to indulge in that kind of skepticism. I would expect that Daniel Jones will be re-signed at a lower value and that he'll be back next year, and they're going to hope that he's ready to go, and they better have a plan B ready.
We're talking to Kent Sterling in the morning, WGCL in Indiana. Kent, I look back to the month of November where it all went wrong for the Colts here. You're up by double digits in the second half against the Chiefs. Like, to me, if you win that game, I think at that point that's where the season went awry for you.
It was, and the thing that really happened that was terrible, and we don't talk about it too much, is that Schrader, the kicker, got wrecked by a Raider. And if that doesn't happen, that Chiefs game changes. They've had games that were decided by a missed extra point here or there. And Michael Badgley missing that extra point against the Chiefs was really deleterious to this team's ability to win that game. And it changed the math in that game in a way that really made that game tough for the Colts to win. I think that they got tired. That defense couldn't get off the field. And that's been a problem for this team. This is the third defensive coordinator that's kind of had that problem with the Colts. So I think it's more personnel than scheme. I mean, you don't find defensive coordinators more different than Lou Anarumo and Gus Bradley. Like, those guys are completely opposed in the way they approach defense, but the result's been the same. Extended drives, an inability to get off the field, and an exhausted unit toward the end of games, and that's kind of what happened.
You mentioned the schedule. Is it as simple as that? When you look at how this offense is going, I mean, Jonathan Taylor has been magnificent this season. I'm curious as to what he found in the offseason that made him as healthy and as productive as he's been. But you look at down the stretch here in the final 4 games, I mean, and looking back the last few weeks, I mean, yes, the schedule has gotten tougher. You've had more divisional opponents here as well, with Jacksonville and Houston still on deck.
Part of it is the schedule, and part of it is that Mike Tomlin and the Steelers kind of found something against the Colts, and they stacked the line, and they were like, okay, you want to try to block 8 with 5, you go right ahead. You want to try to block with 6 and hold that tight end in, good for us, because now we don't have to cover Tyler Warren. And let's see if you can run it against us with us putting 8 in the box. And let's see if you can throw it against us once we stop you running the ball. and the Colts haven't been able to throw. They haven't been able to run. That offense has kind of ground to a halt. They need a plan B offensively to answer the blitzes and the stacked fronts, and they just haven't found it.
We're talking to our buddy here, Kent Sterling, Indiana Radio 98.7 WGCL. Also, you can find Kent, a great show on YouTube. If you're more into Colts content, recommend that. Kent, so your gut here, going back to Rivers here, and you don't get to see the whole practice, I would assume, at least that's the way it is in Western New York. Do you have any sense of how this is going to look? I'll put it this way. I have never been more excited for a game in the 4 o'clock window where I'm talking with my son. We should go out after the Bills game is over because we don't have the ticket. Let's just go out to the local place and we'll watch the game here on the ticket.
I feel exactly the same way. I can't wait for Sunday. And that is in stark opposition to the way I felt about the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars last weekend, because the Colts haven't beaten the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville since 2014. So I wasn't looking forward to that one, and it didn't seem like anybody was around here. This week, there's some fizz to this place, and there's some energy and some pop. I think it's going to be cool. And you know what? Like, there are a lot of people who are skeptical about this and a little bit cynical. I'm not. Like, Phillip Rivers has never been an elusive athlete. He's never been a guy who relied upon his legs. He said, if my legs are gone, I haven't noticed it because I never had them. The last time he played for the Colts in 2020, he had 18 rushes for -8 yards. He doesn't need his legs. He doesn't need to run anywhere. All he's got to do is slide in the pocket a little bit and get rid of the ball quick. The last time he played here in 2020, he got rid of the ball second quick among starting quarterbacks in the NFL at just over 2 seconds. So all he's got to do is either hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor or check to the right offensive set against the scheme that he's looking at and get the ball out quick. Nobody knows this scheme better than him. This is his scheme from the Chargers when he and Steichen worked together. He, as a high school football coach, runs this offense down at the high school that he coaches down in Mobile, Alabama. Nobody knows it better. Shane Steichen and Rivers have weekly conversations because Rivers coaching high school football, what wrinkles you got this week? And Steichen had asked Phil, what wrinkles you got this week? So they've been collaborating for years in doing this, as Phillip has been a high school coach. So it's a rare situation where you've got a quarterback coming in the middle of a week and might start on Sunday who knows that playbook better than anybody, better than Daniel Jones, certainly, and he's going to be able to check to the right stuff every single snap because nobody knows his thing better. And as far as throwing, he never had a fastball. So, you know, he hadn't lost his fastball. He still throws it as hard as he did 5 years ago, which isn't hard at all. All of the stuff that you lose with time, he never had. So if anybody is in a great position to have a Sunday for the ages, it's Phillip Rivers.
Kent, is there an unintended consequence of the story of Rivers and Steichen sharing notes that the Colts are actually running a high school offense?
Well, or that's one way to look at it, or you could say his high school's running an NFL offense.
We'd be crazy if we didn't at least get your take on the college football playoff, because Indiana happens to have the number one team in the land, the Big Ten champions. And I'm curious if you could just share a little bit about what this season has meant for the Hoosiers football program, and then also who you'd like to see between Alabama and Oklahoma there in the Rose Bowl.
When we first started talking, you guys and I, back in the day, what were the odds you figure on you asking me that question at any point during our lifetime?
Never.
No, it'd be like asking Syracuse is the top team in the nation. I would have believed that before Indiana football.
I mean, I remember when Penix played for Indiana, and I thought, okay, Indiana's
fun, yeah,
it's fun, it's interesting. Penix is, and then Penix leaves. I'm like, oh, I don't know, but he's done one hell of a job there.
Yeah, Kurt Cignetti is a really simple coach who has a simple message, and the guys buy into it. And as soon as he started telling them how things were going to work, guys either bought in or they didn't. And the guys that didn't buy in, he's got one rule, and his rule is be where you're supposed to be and be on time. That's it. And do your best. Be where you're supposed to be, do your best. And the people who did that, they got rewarded. And the people who didn't do that, when he saw them not do it, they packed a bag and they were gone. Like there was an immediate and harsh consequence when people didn't buy into Curt Cignetti, and rightly so. So he changed that culture immediately. He brought guys in from JMU that had bought in and could kind of be the Cignetti whisperers in the locker room. And this is a guy who leads from a place of strength, doesn't try to accommodate players, and they understand what their jobs are, all of them, and they go out and do their jobs. And if you got 11 guys doing their job each and every snap, you got a hell of a chance to win. And they have won. And now they've got Stephen Daly, who's a really good defensive end for him. He's out for the season. He kind of injured himself in a celebration after the game. So that's terrible and unfortunate. But I think Indiana, they got the best quarterback in the tournament. I think they got a chance.
Yeah, I long-term, Kent, because I appreciate that, hey, he stayed there. Penn State couldn't poach Cignetti, but in terms of NIL and what it's going to take to have long-term success, is Indiana built in that regard?
Nobody's got more money in Indiana. Like Indiana's got money, not just athletic money, but they got donors who are stepping to the plate and donating in the 8 and 9 figures. They've got plenty of money to fund whatever kind of player acquisition that they want. The Big Ten's rolling in money. The media deals are unbelievably lucrative. And so Indiana, I think they can sustain this. And I think the one thing I worry about with Cignetti, he seems to be a healthy guy, is that he's, 64, 65 years old, right as he's coming into his prime as a coach and getting the best results that he can get as a coach. I hope he can maintain his health. And I think as long as he does, Indiana's got a really good chance to continue that. I don't know who wouldn't want to play here. Like, I get that Indiana's Indiana, and most people just fly over the top of it. But if you come to Indiana and you play football, you're going to learn your job. You're going to get really good coaching and really good training, and you're going to wind up playing at a winning place. And this is, I don't know, I still think it's one of the best places to play. And Bloomington has kind of come into its own as a football destination. I think that's going to continue.
Can't tell everybody about Sterling in the Morning and where we can get more of your work.
Well, you can download the Bloomington Voice app, of course, and listen every day from 7 to 9. Or you can go to YouTube and just plug Kent Sterling into that search bar, and there we are, posting videos twice a day, every single day.
Kent, great stuff here, and boy, if Rivers lights it up, I'm pulling for this danger. I want it to happen. Ken, thank you, bud.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
You got it. There's Kent Sterling. Sterling in the Morning. Search out Kent on YouTube. He does a great job, and he's so Indiana. That guy is the best. Yeah. Love that guy. I'm excited for the Rivers thing. It's going to be fun. It could be potentially combustible. It could be an absolute horror show.
It's a story.
Or it could be a made-for-TV or made-for-Hollywood movie. I mean, it really, it can only go one of two ways.
What if it's Peterman-esque? What if this just doesn't work? Like, you can do everything in practice, but until you see it in real speed, this isn't like getting on a bike, right? It's like these guys are big.
When you watch Rivers throwing in practice and a little bit of footage that we've seen here through 2 days of practice, he still kind of looks the part. I mean, he certainly, to me, looks the part more so than anybody else they have on the roster right now. And the moment they signed him, I remember thinking, he does. He gives them the best chance to win. It's unorthodox. It doesn't make a lot of sense to pull a guy off the couch after he's been gone for 5 years. But he gives them the best chance to win. And with their backs against the wall here, trying to fight and claw into the postseason, they need wins, and they need wins fast.
What if he leads Indy to wins and they get in? We're just not even considering that, right?
I'm not, just because the odds right now aren't in their favor, right? There's a better chance that they miss the tournament than there is that they make the tournament. As of right now, I want to say 65% chance that they don't make the playoffs. And, you know, what that looks like if they beat Seattle this weekend, now we're having a conversation. But this game is awesome. This is going to be a big game for the Colts. The Seahawks are fine. They're going to be in the tournament, but the Colts, no, they need this one. Let's see how hungry they are with a 44-year-old quarterback that they just dusted off and bring back. We'll get Eddie Barrett's thoughts here next hour as well on the fantasy playoffs, Week 15, the Rivers story, and whether or not that there are any fantasy implications to the Phillip Rivers experiment that's happening this season.
Yeah, next, though. Okay. Carl Jones, WIVB in Buffalo. Let's talk Bills Patriots. Let's look through the eyes of the former Syracuse player. Like, what does this Bills defense need to do better this time around to get a win against the Patriots?
You can join us anytime this afternoon on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. 866-4FAN is our phone number. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
You're listening
HD2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Christian Benford popping up on today's injury report. He was limited with a toe injury seen in a walking boot. Jack Thompson talking about the New England run game.
The run game is still good. You know, they got the young rook. He's fast, physical for his size. They still got Stevens. He's downhill runner. You know, he's going to bring the power. I think they're a great duo. They got a good offensive line. They got a good offense, you know, and we just got to be able to play our brand of football.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan. Week 15 begins tonight. It's the Falcons and Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football. Also tonight, the Sabres. They're in Vancouver. Our coverage will begin at 10 o'clock. Syracuse basketball taking a week off here. They're back on the hardwood tonight. St. Joe's is the opponent. Tron Moore remains in custody. The former Michigan head coach has yet to be charged. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
You're back in the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. You can also find us on YouTube and Twitch, where we stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6. Our channel, The Fan Rochester. You heard from Shaq Thompson there in your update, Gino. And that is somebody on this Bills defense that, quite honestly, I'm surprised we're talking about going into Week 15, because when he was signed and when we saw him at training camp, my initial thought was, that's a favor. I mean, that's a favor.
That's
being
a
in
Carolina.
that's a Carolina connection, and being a McDermott. Man, we owe Shaq Thompson an apology. I mean, he's meant a lot to this defense, and when you hear him kind of take this leadership role and do what he's done against the run here the last few weeks, it's been all the difference in how this Bills defense has performed. Now, selfishly, when we want to talk about the Bills defense, our next guest we consider to be an expert, Carl Jones from WIVB TV in Buffalo. And Carl, I mean, not only Shaq Thompson, but Christian Benford and what you've seen here out of this defense the last few weeks. I'm curious as to, more than anything, what you think the Bills might do to prevent Diggs from having the kind of game that he had in Week 5.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, first off, calling me an expert. I'll make sure to tell my boss that so I can get a raise. But in terms of how they approach the Patriots this weekend, I will say that it's going to be a bit of a different matchup in terms of Diggs. I mean, Benford just following the other team's top receiver, which will be Stephon Diggs for the Patriots, because Diggs moves around a lot. In fact, he's in the slot majority of the time now, which will be his matchup against Taron Johnson. And the Bills have been very reluctant to put Benford inside. So I think it's going to be a situation to where he's going to follow Diggs to wherever side he goes to, but I don't think he's going to travel inside to match up with Diggs. So it's going to be up to Taron Johnson and the safeties to make sure they slow him down.
Carl, we know Benford's been magnificent this year, but Taron Johnson, this is not a season that's been up to his standards here. What have you seen out of the Bills' nickel corner here in 2025?
Yeah, in terms of the run game, he's actually been solid, and that's kind of been one of his calling cards is how physical he is, even though he's listed at like 190 pounds soaking wet. But he has taken a step back in the passing game to where he's about, I would say, league average, maybe a tad above that, a far cry from his all-pro season back in 2023. I don't think he's someone you pick on. I don't think we're at that point in his career. But in terms of the stellar play, you set it and forget it in terms of when you put 7 in the slot. I think those days, or at least this season, hasn't been there. But they're going to need the best version of Taron Johnson this weekend because, once again, it's going to be Stephon Diggs on the inside. They are going to they move the receivers everywhere. It's going to be Kayshawn Boutte. It's going to be Kyle Williams. All of those guys are going to move all around the formation. And you are going to need not just Taron, but all of the DBs to be on one accord this Sunday.
Carl, back to Benford for a second because he popped up on the injury report today with the toe. But it doesn't look like anything, or at least it sounds like it's not going to be anything that prohibits him from playing on Sunday. But it's a long season, and I still remember this season, the beginning of this season, it not going well for Christian Benford. What's been the difference here the last few weeks out of his play that you've seen?
Yeah, real quick on his injury, I was at practice. He was in a walking boot, but it was a softer, like black walking boot that you see when the injury's not as serious. So I'm with you. I don't think it'll be anything that should prevent him from playing Sunday. Sean McDermott will confirm everything on Friday. But I think the two biggest things that I've noticed with Christian Benford is he looks healthy again. He was dealing with some nagging injuries, some groin injuries the first month and a half of the season, and you can kind of tell with how stagnant he looked as a player. But then also, it comes with the territory of being a cornerback in the National Football League. You are going to have your ebbs and flows of, hey, you're right there. You're in his hip pocket. You did steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 perfect, but that fourth step in terms of getting the ball out, you didn't make the play. I mean, that Ravens play where DeAndre Hopkins got that touchdown at the end zone. I mean, Benford was there, but that's the life of being a cornerback. And I think that he's made those plays on the ball when the opportunities presented themselves, and then now quarterbacks are just reluctant to even throw his way now. So I think that it comes with the volatile nature of the position, and he's just healthy again. I know a lot of people were like, oh, the book is out on Benford. I watch him practice all the time. He's such a technician. There is no book on him. He's a phenomenal player, and I'm just glad to see him get back to full health again.
Carl, for our audience that might not have seen your video today where, hey, if you're describing what changed there for the Bills defense here, you likened it to going to a casino and kind of doubling down there and everything. That makes me a little nervous knowing that the house always kind of wins. But if you can kind of expand on that, is this Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich just getting a little more aggressive, and could this bite the Bills here at some point?
As currently constructed, and that is core, Sean McDermott is a guy who wants to rush with his four defensive linemen, and sit back in coverage and do a lot of funky things on the back end. That's who he is at his nature and at his core. You guys didn't need me to tell you that. But based off of the injuries they have up front and kind of the personnel that they have, they can't play that way, especially against some of the best quarterbacks in football. We saw Joe Burrow in that first half. You sit back and you rush 4 all game, he's going to pick you apart all game long. Well, if you're going to get picked apart, you might as well double down a few times and throw some volatility into this thing and say, you know what, let's blitz. And we're going to get beat at times. The Bills got beat a lot when they blitzed on Sunday, but they also had a lot of explosive plays. And when you have 17 on the other side of the ball being Josh Allen, if you just get 3-4 stops, that's all you really need to compete, especially late into the year. So I think this weekend will be a prime opportunity for them to do that again. Drake May is no slouch, and he's a very good young quarterback. And if you sit back and just relax all game with him, he too is going to pick this Bills defense apart. They don't have the personnel like the Houston Texans. I know everyone's watching them and how great they are. They never blitz. You know why? They have 2 NASCAR drivers off the edge. The Bills don't have that. So I think you have to invite that volatile nature. And listen, there are going to be some plays where you get beat. But there are also going to be some plays where you get a pick six like Christian Benford had on Sunday.
Well, when you look at how poor the Bills performed on third down defensively against the Bengals, you have concerns. And you mentioned Josh Allen. We already know Josh Allen can carry this offense. He's done it time and time and time again. But in order for the Bills to win the Super Bowl this year, it sure sounds, Carl, like what you're saying is Josh Allen's also going to have to carry the defense on his back as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to make some plays in terms of carry them, but I also think that it's not out of the realm of possibilities to where this defense can every Sunday make a play or two that turns the tide of the game. I know a lot of people – the Chiefs run 3 years ago, the defense was the elite. But the last 2 Super Bowl runs they had, the defense wasn't great, but they were opportunistic, and that was just enough for Patrick Mahomes to meet the moment for them whenever they needed him to do so in the postseason. And I think it'll be the same way this year. I don't think the Bills' defense is good by any means, but I don't think it's the type of unit that will get run off of the field either. And I think as long as they make those – it doesn't have to be a pick six. It doesn't have to be an interception, but a few third down stops, a few sacks on first or second down to where now the defense has 3rd and 15 as opposed to 3rd and 3. I think the defense has that in them. I know the bar is extremely low. I'm reaching here to a certain extent, but I don't think it's going to be a complete backpack effort needed by Josh Allen in order for them to win a Super Bowl.
Carl Jones, WIVB, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Carl, when I look at the Patriot offense, I wonder why don't they use Travion Henderson a little bit more? I mean, maybe you're saving him, or maybe they just want to, use the steady veteran in Ramondre Stevenson. But I just think that could be a potential problem here, knowing that the Bills have had trouble with the speedy running back, whether that's Achane or Robinson. And I think Henderson's great for a rookie. And your thoughts here? How do the Bills defend against that sort of running back here this week?
He's played more the last month of the season. When the Bills played him, he was still in, I guess, Vrabel's doghouse for whatever godforsaken reason. Mike Vrabel has his weird quirks. But he has played a little bit more, even with Ramondre Stevenson back into the lineup. And in order to slow guys like that down, we just got to tackle. We got to make sure that we rally to the football and we're doing our 111s. And I know that sounds so mundane, but if we rally to the football and we have population there, what I mean by that is it's not just one-on-one. We got 2, 3, 4 defenders to where if Travion Henderson does make one guy miss, I have my teammate right there to make me right. And then that's what's going to be required to slow down the back like Travion. He isn't Devon Achane, but he isn't a slouch either, you just mentioned. And I think he is going to be at the top of the Bills scouting report when they face him Sunday afternoon.
Henderson's counterpart for the Bills has a little bit of a fumble issue. It's been, 4 fumbles over the last 2 games, 2 fumbles lost over the last 2 games for James Cook. This has got to be concerning. Is this something that the Bills can correct? Is this something that Cook can correct?
I think he can correct it. I know he had an issue his rookie season, and that's why he was a bit in the doghouse of Sean McDermott back then. But this wasn't an issue prior to, last month. He had been squeaky clean in terms of ball security for about a better part of a year. So hopefully it's a blip. Hopefully it's just an happenstance and something that they can correct quickly. Because with how the Bills like to play offense, they can't afford to just fork over possessions. Remember, I just mentioned that the defense can only give you about 3-4 stops a game. You can't afford to just give the ball away like James Cook has. But my concern meter, if I had to go 1 through 10, I don't know, 3. I've seen him fix this issue before and be A-okay.
Carl Jones, our guest here in the Sports Bar, you've been talking to the players this week, and I don't know how much they're actually going to give you, but even for a professional, how motivating is it that for a division that you have owned here for the last 5 years, you don't want to be the team that loses it on your watch here this week?
Most of the players are taking we either A, didn't know that they could clinch it, or B, hey, it's just any given Sunday. We just care about the game in front of us. The most important game is the next one. Having said that, though, those guys are competitors. Those guys know what they've defended the last 5 years. And even if the Patriots do win it, they're not going to win it on their watch against them. So a few times when you ask the question, you can see the players, they tighten up a little bit in terms of, okay, I got to make sure I answer this the right way, but in terms of protect how I truly feel. So they're telling us all the right things, but you best believe those guys are humans just like you and I. They're trying to defend that crown.
So it's a pretty good chance, Carl, that the Bills are going to make the postseason. I want to say it's like a 96% chance as of today that they're in the postseason. It's just a matter of seeding. And earlier this week, before the Chargers beat the Eagles, we were thinking to ourselves, boy, that 5 seed feels like the right spot for the Buffalo Bills. Do you believe that, or is there a preferred seeding for the Bills here in terms of who they might actually face? Given that there's still 4 weeks of football left to go, what does it all look like to you?
Well, the most preferred seeding is winning the division and somehow sneaking into the 1 seed, but that's obviously very, very far-fetched. I don't mind the 5 seed. I mean, you go to Pittsburgh or Baltimore, whoever wins that one, and neither team has impressed me this season, so you should feel confident that you can win that one. And then if it's the 2 or 3 matchup, the 1 seed matchup from there, listen, we've talked about this in the media room for the past few weeks or so, and I think it's true. This may be on paper the worst Bills season or team dating back to 2020.
Yeah.
But this is also the worst AFC field dating back to 2020. So I think you take those odds 10 times out of 10, and no matter your path, you're going to have by far the best, not just quarterback, player on the field. And you take those chances regardless if you got to play in Houston, Planet Mars, Venus, or Buffalo, New York. You take 17 and you take those chances.
Carl, sometimes we just move so quickly from one story to the next, and it was discussed this week with McDermott on Monday. Hey, what about Darius Slay? So part one of the question, who really is corner 4 on the team right now? And then I don't know, the way the McDermott answered that question, he seems still pretty hot over that situation.
Yeah, in terms of corner 4, I would say it's Dane Jackson when he gets elevated. If he has to get elevated, remember, corner 4 is only an issue if 2 guys go down. Now, where this season has gone, I'm not saying that's out of the remote possibility, but at the moment, assuming Christian Benford goes on Sunday, that isn't the Bills' concern. I can listen. Jamarcus Ingram has been a valuable player for the Bills over the better part of the last 3-4 years or so. They developed him, and just losing him in that manner had to suck. And the Darius Slay thing obviously probably rubs him and everyone in that building the wrong way. Players just telling you, hey, I don't want to play for whatever reason, not wanting to report. So I don't want to speculate on if it's he's Brandon Beane or if it's Darius Slay. I can say, though, he was definitely irritated by the questioning just based off he does not want to talk about Darius Slay whatsoever.
So, Carl, you mentioned that it's a soft AFC field, and if you have 17, you have as good a chance as ever if you're the Buffalo Bills. Is there a team that we're sleeping on? I mean, we look at the Broncos and we look at the Patriots, and I think a lot of people will say, oh, their schedule, they haven't really beaten anybody. The Broncos have won games by the skin of their teeth, albeit with a very good defense. We saw what the Texans' defense did to the Bills. Are there teams in the AFC outside of Buffalo that you could see representing if they all, as it stands right now, if they all make the dance?
Yeah, I think there's 2 teams. One, I think the Jaguars, ever since they got Jacoby Myers, have looked much better on offense. And listen, I don't know how much faith I have in Trevor Lawrence in a postseason setting, but that offense has looked much better under Liam Cohen, first-year head coach. So now you have Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, Brent Strange at tight end. They're cooking with some stuff there. I want to see a little bit more, but I think that's someone that you can't just completely overlook. But the team who I think is the most dangerous if and when they get in is the Houston Texans. I truly believe that they are the closest thing we've seen to those Seahawks and Broncos Super Bowl winning teams from about a decade ago in terms of they have the rush and coverage aspect that is just hard to find. It's A+ in both. They have the best cornerback duo in football. They have the best rush tandem in football. The Bills saw it up close and personal. I'll say this, if they are at home, that's hard to beat them. But if they're on the road, the snap count's different. You guys know it's much harder to rush the passer on the road. So if I had to put 2 teams outside of the Patriots and Broncos, those would be the 2, more so the Texans and the Jaguars, though.
Carl, I'm going to go off the board here. How does it look this Sunday in Seattle when a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers takes the field here?
I'll say this. I saw what they made J.J. McCarthy look like, and I know he's a rookie, but he is still an able-bodied. He's been working out the entire year, and they made him look bad. I saw what they made Kirk Cousins look like last week. All due respect to Uncle Phil, I don't think this game is going to be pretty. I love you, Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil, I loved you watching you in San Diego all those years. But please, think about your kids this Sunday. Please, don't try to hold on to the ball any longer than you need to. We're checking it down, and don't think for a second you can escape out the pocket anymore. The old days are gone, Uncle Phil.
Carl, tell everybody about where we can get more of your work, WIVB TV and elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. If you're in the Buffalo area, obviously you can watch me on WIVB TV, and I'm on X, Twitter, whatever the kids call them these days, at Jones11_. A lot of this good content on defensive backs is I like to think, expertise, but who knows what you call it these days. And you get that type of stuff from me. If you want to know about offensive linemen, I am the wrong guy. I don't know I don't know none of their responsibilities. But if you want to know what Christian Benford got going on, come follow my page. I think I got a good idea.
Great stuff, Carl. Appreciate the time. Let's do this again.
Thank you. You guys be blessed. Have a good one.
There he is, Carl Jones, WIVB TV in Buffalo. Yeah, his specialty is defensive backfield. And sounds like Benford, now dealing with a toe injury going into this week, won't be shadowing Diggs if Diggs goes inside. That'll be on Taron Johnson.
Yeah, no, that's not how they work this. It is going to be Taron Johnson. So Taron Johnson, somebody who is getting paid, like being one of the best at his position. Carl pointed out, he can still tackle. That's why Jordan Poyer's still on the field, right? He can tackle. That's a concern. So that's concern one. And then the other concern, Travion Henderson, because I don't know if he gets to the edge, and if it's Milano, maybe you lose a little more Dorian Williams in this game. Just a suggestion.
Let's get to Andy Behrens, the deep shot. Fantasy football playoffs getting underway for a lot of leagues. Week 15 We'll get a preview from Andy, and we'll discuss some potential players you might want to stash for a deep playoff run. We check in with Andy Behrens at the Deep Shot next on The Fan Rochester.
At work today, the Bills' Christian Benford limited today with a toe injury. He was wearing a soft boot following practice. Shaq Thompson talking about Patriots quarterback Drake May.
Coming from the NFC, I wasn't really paying attention to Drake, but the guy's a baller, man. He's all around special talent at quarterback. He can throw, he can run. He makes great decisions, and for me, he definitely got a lot better since his rookie year, right? I mean, that's what you want to see in a franchise quarterback. That's what you want to see kind of in any player. So he has my respect.
Patriots and Bills. Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on the Fan Rochester. Sabres after dark tonight. Buffalo at Vancouver, 10 o'clock for our coverage. Syracuse basketball tonight hosting St. Joe's. Sharon Moore remains in custody. The former Michigan head coach has yet to be charged. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It's the utmost importance, making sure that we're holding on to the football, making good decisions with it. I think what goes into that is making sure that we're practicing extremely well, extremely hard, and whatever plays that we're putting in, we feel comfortable with. Guys know where they're at. I understand where guys are going to be, and ultimately it comes down to me making the best decision for the football team, and when the ball's in my hands, I got to make sure that I'm remembering that.
17. Maybe that's the difference in a win versus a loss week 5 against the Patriots. The red zone pick. Keon Coleman fumble. Yeah, protect the football. And it's something that we brought up to Carl Jones just earlier this hour, and the inability of James Cook to protect the football here over the last handful of games. Hopefully that gets cleaned up in time for Sunday afternoon. The New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills action you'll be able to hear on the Fan Rochester. Kickoff at 1. And, of course, we'll have pregame coverage here on the Fan starting at 9. If you want to join Gino and I, we will be live from Remedy inside of Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack tomorrow afternoon from 3 until 6. Man, we'll get you ready for your weekend in sports. A great place to watch all the action with the big screens, the amazing food and drink specials. And when you're at Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack, you know this. There's over 1,100 video gaming machines. We'll also be joined tomorrow by Lance Lysowski of the Buffalo News covering the Bills. And our buddy D.A., Damon Amendolara, the Bill Maddock podcast, joins us for his regularly scheduled Friday afternoon hit as well. That's tomorrow. We will be live. Remedy inside of Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack from 3 until 6. Join Gino and I to kick off your weekend.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Trying to get Andy Barons on the line.
Yeah, as we're tracking down Andy here, let's give you the Bills injury report today. As we mentioned in the update, Christian Benford limited with a toe injury. Well, that's new, so I'm certainly will be asking about that. Now, we just asked Carl Jones about this. When you think walking boot, you're thinking up to the ankle. This wasn't that at all. It looked more like a sandal type of thing, but maybe they're just being, cautious here. Bernard limited, also limited Joey Bosa. Spencer Brown, who says he's fine, and he'll be playing Josh Palmer. A DMP today for Mitch Trubisky. He was under the weather. It's just listed as illness. Cole Bishop, that was only cramping back in the game against the Bengals. Kincaid and Knox also going full today. Knox back at practice after missing Wednesday for personal reasons.
All right. Speaking of injuries, do you see that the season is over and maybe the career in Cincinnati is over for Trey Hendrickson? They put him on injured reserve today.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
The Bengals' dysfunction kind of shows up from time to time. And it certainly showed up this offseason with the Trey Hendrickson lack of contract and the holdout and everything that went with that. And I'm not going to just dismiss Joe Burrow's comments yesterday.
No.
That's something.
Well, he did this once before where he talked about his football mortality. And this is somebody that has had injury after injury after injury. And let's be honest, the Bengals don't exactly invest in their offensive line. So the guy has taken some shots over the years. But what's different about this time, Danger, is that I don't know where this is coming from. Is this just teams that are down and out trying to stir up the content machine? But all this, could we actually trade for Joe Burrow talk that's out there?
I'd be more worried about Joe Burrow just saying, you know what? Nice run. Made it to a Super Bowl. Won a national championship at LSU. He's taken more abuse in a shorter amount of time than Andrew Luck did when he was with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, you wouldn't bat an eye. I mean, it would be a shocking story if Burrow decided he wanted to retire and hang it up. But I think you would all understand because of all of the injuries that he's had to deal with in his short career. He's magnificent when he's out there. I mean, we saw firsthand last week what that guy can do. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Just hasn't been able to stay healthy in Cincinnati. And to hear him talk about it not being fun is the thing that, if I can't have fun, then why am I doing this? I think that's a product of being in Cincinnati. I think that's a product of being a part of a bad organization.
Yeah, and maybe that's where this is coming from. Like, could my favorite team, whether it's the Jets or whoever, trade for a Joe Burrow? I would say good luck to you. Cincinnati's not. Heck, they wouldn't even trade.
The other thing that you can keep in mind with this, and maybe this is part of it as well, as far as Burrow's agenda, he doesn't have any guaranteed money on his contract moving into next year. This is it. This is his last year of guaranteed money. So maybe there's a bit of posturing happening here as well in an attempt to secure some more guaranteed dollars, given that, look, the NFL, your mortality rate is high, and you're not going to be around. Get that money while you can, and if you can get it guaranteed, even better.
As we are searching for Andy Behrens, we can open up our phone lines, right? Joe Burrow, I didn't realize that. That's interesting. No guaranteed money after this year.
That's right.
That's a huge problem for Cincinnati.
Yes. You might want to figure out what exactly you're going to do with your franchise quarterback that doesn't have any guaranteed money on the books moving forward.
Brad in Rochester joining us. You can join us, too, at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Hey, Brad.
Hey, thinking about the Joe Burrow situation, I'm sure if his agent kind of reached out to Minnesota and said, hey, let's make a deal here, he probably wouldn't mind going to play with his other wide receiver from LSU and play in a dome and have a quarterback whisperer right with him the whole time. I mean, I don't know how many picks it would take, but Joe Burrow playing with Justin Jefferson in Minnesota and in the NFC would probably be a fantastic thing.
I can't hear that, Brad. Now, I'm saying that because as crazy as it sounds, I think the ownership and the GM love J.J. McCarthy. We haven't seen it yet from J.J. McCarthy. Flashes, but not consistent. And the so-called quarterback whisperer, needs to really show that he can make J.J. McCarthy into the quarterback that they drafted, that they thought they were drafting. Burrow going somewhere else is interesting. The thought of where he could end up. I mean, there's certainly plenty of quarterback-starved teams. I wonder what Arizona's going to do next year without Kyler Murray, where Kyler Murray might end up. We're in the month of December now, approaching the middle of December, and we'll start talking about the quarterback carousel and draft, who's going to draft a quarterback and who's got the assets. Where do they all end up? I just thought Burrow's comments you don't just make those comments.
Well, he does right now. Like, this is actually kind of comical, Danger, where I'll read some of these names. If you had to say how much is he going to make next year, if he's on the roster week 1, it's $26 million.
Burrow.
In 2026, I'm talking
about.
It's
a bargain.
Here's some of the names that are ahead of the money that Joe Burrow will make. Ready? Deshaun Watson. That's an easy one. Deshaun Watson owed $46 million next year. Tua is owed $39 million. This gets better. How about a guy who's playing tonight? Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins offered all that money by Atlanta. Whoops, $35 million, his base salary. What about Geno Smith? Geno Smith is going to make more base salary than Joe Burrow next year. Now, this can all be renegotiated. These guys could all get cut. But in terms of guaranteed dollars moving forward, yeah, it's time for a new deal for Burrow here.
It's funny. And that might be as simple as that. That might be what is leading to all of these comments. The comments of, if it's not fun, what am I doing? It hasn't been fun. The injuries are one thing. And then if you're Cincinnati, you could look at it and be like, well, why would we invest in this guy? He's always injured. Yeah, I think the byproduct of being in Cincinnati is starting to rear its ugly head, and Burrow is just the latest in a long line of players who realize they they're playing for a cheapskate. They're playing for an owner and an organization that doesn't like dishing out a lot of money.
And you're absolutely correct. In terms of guaranteed dollars, there's zero. No guaranteed dollars for Joe Burrow. Some of them, like, hey, you're going to get these bonuses along the way for working out, or for making the Pro Bowl, or whatever it may be. There is nothing. What would this look like in 2026? Dead cap for Cincinnati, $56 million. We've seen worse.
Mm-hmm.
Seen much worse than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they get something done. I think that's their guy. Has to be their guy.
Well, he's watching Trey Hendrickson go through all those shenanigans. He's watching his receivers and Higgins get tagged.
They got theirs. They got theirs.
Did they?
Because it's what he wanted.
Did they? Because Hendrickson didn't get a long-term.
Hendrickson didn't, but Burrow's guys did. To the detriment of the defense, right? This is a comically bad defense for Cincinnati. They don't have the resources to invest in star players on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to lose Hendrickson. And I don't know, let's stop the talk right now about Hendrickson. His core muscle surgery is what ended his season. And do you think he's going to come back? At best, I think what you're getting is what you maybe would have gotten out of Von Miller that first full season in Buffalo. I don't know that there's a lot of gas left in the tank for Hendrickson based on what we saw this year before the injury and now with the injury. I've got questions. But with Burrow, it sure seems like they are, as an organization, doing everything they can to keep him happy, with the exception of paying him in the form of a new deal with lots of guaranteed money that puts him on track with some of the star quarterbacks in the NFL. The idea that Geno Smith makes more, or that Tua makes more than Joe Burrow, to me is laughable. Joe Burrow is, in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, easily, maybe a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and probably deserves to be paid more in line with that versus the the salary that he's dealing with right now. And maybe he has a little bit more fun if he's getting that guaranteed money in 2026.
We welcome in our fantasy expert, the deep shot, Andy Behrens. Andy, we were just talking about the situation in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. And, hey, it's fantasy playoff time, but that was a different tone this week, wondering about the future of Joe Burrow. Andy, how are you today?
I'm good. Not wondering about my own future, pleasantly enough, today. Yeah, vastly different tone. Weird team. Really, really weird team. I believe they are, in their last 7 games, they're like 2-5, but they've gone over 30 points in like 5 of those games. A crazy team.
Andy, let's not bury the lead, because we have what might be the biggest car accident we've ever seen in the NFL, or a Hollywood story in the NFL. Phillip Rivers going to Seattle and quarterback in the Colts, if they make him active, and I have a feeling they might make him active. What was your reaction to old man Rivers getting the call from Indianapolis? My initial reaction, Andy, he gives the best chance to win on Sunday.
I mean, I gotta say, I think it's insane. I think it's really insane. It's understandably desperate. I get that. I don't know how much better he can possibly be than Riley Leonard, and I don't think Riley Leonard was good exactly, but at least he's their type. The runaround, scattershot passer type. Phillip Rivers wasn't great the last time we saw him on an NFL field, and I have absolutely no reason to think that he's going to be particularly good this time. And Seattle is just a nightmare matchup. I legitimately hope he does not take the field against Seattle, because I just can't imagine that working. Seattle is one of the best defenses in the league, and they will absolutely shut you down. That'll happen whether it's Leonard or Rivers. I am shocked by this. I haven't slid his name into my ranks yet, because I'm still a little bit in denial about the whole thing.
well, we have to prepare as if he's going to be out there. But even if it is Riley Leonard and they're going against that Seattle defense, and hey, Andy, it is playoff time here, right? Jonathan Taylor, and then anybody else? Are we sticking with Ty Warren here? Perhaps. How far deep do you go back on the Colts offense this week?
Yeah, I would want alternatives to all of the receivers, to be perfectly honest. And Michael Pittman's been good this year. Alex Pierce has been a revelation. He's been great. Tyler Warren has been one of the right answers at tight end. It's really difficult for me to imagine the Colts scoring more than, I don't know, 10, 13. Can they get to 16 points? It'd be crazy if they did. Seattle's just a great defense. So I'd play Taylor because how can you not? But I would be somewhat proactive about finding alternatives to the other guys.
Andy, we've got action starting tonight. Week 15 gets underway with the Bucs hosting the Falcons, and this is the Falcons with Kirk Cousins, and this is a Bucs team that hasn't quite looked the same. But Mike Evans back on the field. What's your preview for tonight's action on Prime?
Yeah, what a time for the Bucs, because they're getting everyone back. Basically, they're getting the full band back together just when they need to. Not a moment too soon. I hope we just get a clean close to the season for Mike Evans. I don't want the final years of his Hall of Fame career to be just full of injuries and the little bit of ugliness. I hope he's just healthy the rest of the way, and I hope he used the last couple weeks to sort of get his legs back, get the football shape back a little bit, because Mike Evans is one of those guys that I think I would play over any Colts receiver, sight unseen. He's that good. We know he's going to have a red zone role. We know they're going to take deep shots to him as long as he's healthy. It's also is a collarbone, so it's not the kind of thing where we're not worried about Mike Evans aggravating this injury. We're assuming that he is a fully operational Mike Evans, so I really hope this works out. They just got Bucky Irving back, and they threw him right into a full workload. He looked great. It's been a little rough, for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was like an MVP candidate, 2 months ago. It's been rough ever since. It's been rough for Egbuka, but this could be the kind of thing that just everything slots into place once we have Godwin and Evans back, and it might be good for Egbuka as well.
Andy, in the late afternoon window, the game most of us will see, Lions and Rams comes at a great time, right? And I'm just trying to envision how this game is going to go, because we expect a point fest, but sometimes, like say with Bills and Chiefs, you get more of a ball control game, meaning, all right, we want to maximize every possession. You end up with like a 27-24 score. I'm hoping for a game in the 40s here, but how do you see this playing out, and where would you draw the line in terms of who you should play? The obvious ones we know about, but Lions and Rams, your thoughts here?
Yeah, these are two teams where the defenses can be frisky. They haven't always been frisky, but they have some playmakers on each side. So it is, as you say, it's possible that we get like a 27-24 affair, but there's an awful lot of firepower. Now that we know that Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he was able to play last week, he's going to be that much healthier this week. That's a great sign for Detroit. So they are operating at near full capacity. They've got a ton out of Jameson Williams lately. I think actually where I draw the line in this game, it's a hard one. Maybe Parkinson, the tight end with the Rams. He's been, he's found the end zone several times in the last 2 months or so. So he's a playable option. But other than that, I mean, you know what to do with all these guys. The other interesting option here on the Rams side is Blake Corum, who's really come on, and he's seized kind of a 35-40% of the backfield workload. That should be big news for Kyren Williams, but their commitment to the run and their commitment to Kyren has been so great that it's hardly mattered to him. But Blake Corum has looked really good, and he's broken off big plays, and he's been great at the goal line too.
Andy, the game we've been spending the majority of our time talking about is in New England on Sunday, with the Bills traveling to the Patriots. And the Bills have been better in the last few weeks against the run, but they haven't had to deal with speed like Travion Henderson. Talk to us about what this Patriots offense looks like against this Bills defense.
Yeah, really the biggest story on the Patriots side all year has been not only the play of Drake May, and Drake May makes a bunch of wild throws each week, but Drake May as a deep ball passer has been nearly perfect. It's been, in fact, the best play in football this year has basically been Drake May throwing the ball 20-plus yards downfield. He's got Kayshon Boutte back. He was injured a few weeks ago. One of the best deep threats. Well, hard to say if he's such a great deep threat or if Drake May has just made him into a great deep threat. It's one of those things. So May has been incredibly impressive. I will say, Henderson has obviously been very good and has breakaway speed. He has not necessarily been the most inventive runner that you're going to see, and he has had his issues in pass protection. you're going to see more Ramondre Stevenson than anybody thinks is wise, but they are rolling him out there because he can pass protect a little bit. He does everything coaches actually want you to do. So it's going to be a little bit of a committee. Henderson fantasy managers have been complaining about it all year, but at this point, that's what you have to assume is gonna be present still. I wish it were different. Like, people get so mad about this. People are terrible on social media watching these games, but Ramondre is going to play, and you just have to live with it.
Andy, I love these conversations we've had over the season, and how many times have we asked you about the Eagles' offense? Hey, this doesn't look right, or that doesn't look right. But thinking that they would figure this out, and then we got the last Monday night, like, oh my gosh, that was absolutely gross. The Eagles turning the ball over 4 times, but you get the Raiders coming across the country. Is this the get-right game, or are we just have to, like, kind of see if there are better options when it comes to the Eagles this week? What are your thoughts on what you're seeing out of Philadelphia?
Well, the one thing that we can say about the offense that works fantasy-wise is that it's not like they're going a million different places with the football. Unfortunately, they have not been able to support even like the 3 or 4 people that we need them to support all year. But there's not a lot of mystery to it. And I do think obviously the Raiders are the friendliest matchup that they have seen in a while. They're also going to get a version of the Raiders that is quarterbacked by Kenny Pickett. And, the one good thing we can say about Kenny Pickett in his NFL career is he hasn't thrown a lot of interceptions, but he also hasn't thrown a lot of touchdowns. He's like, not much happens when Kenny Pickett is at quarterback. So they're not going to have to put up a huge number. I wouldn't the Eagles are kind of too big to fail in fantasy, right? Like, if you've made the playoffs and you've got Saquon Barkley, you're still starting Saquon Barkley. There's no way game flow gets away from the run in this one. You're still playing A.J. Brown because we've already seen the big weeks be really big, and you just have to trust that Jalen Hurts is not going to be the guy who just turned the ball over like twice in one play was crazy. This is going to be like multi-interception Jalen Hurts again.
Andy, are there players that you've targeted for the playoffs? You've got 2-3 weeks here in some leagues where you might have some favorable matchups. Are there guys that might be available that you would think to yourself, that's a guy that you want to stash just for some depth here in the playoff run?
So that's an interesting point, and it gets us to like the way that you manage your bench throughout the season. And one of the things that I always like to remind people is that like roster depth, just having guys with like reasonable floors on your bench gets a lot less important as the season moves along, right? Like in September and October, you've got buys to cover, you got a whole season's worth of injuries to cover. It makes a lot of sense to have great roster depth. This time of year, your whole bench basically should be lottery tickets. It should be guys like Brian Robinson, Blake Corum, Tank Bigsby, like the guys where, what if an injury happens to a starting running back? Well, now I've got somebody who is an automatic plug and play. Like, that's who should be on your bench, because you lose 1 week now and you're done. You don't have to worry about week 16 if you lose week 15. So that's the way I normally like to use my bench. I guess I'd add Tyler Algier to that. There's a handful of guys that have been out there in a majority of leagues that should all be scooped up right now. And the other thing I'll say is that this is the time of year where you can have 2 defenses on the roster because you've kind of mapped out the way you want the end of the season to go. New Orleans has nothing but good matchups. They're pretty good defense, and they have nothing but good matchups remaining in the season. They're just like in the division for the next 3 weeks. So they look good. There's a handful. I've got a couple teams that have like both Seattle and Denver on there because they have a really nice alternating matchup schedule down the stretch. So that's the kind of odd thing that I will do this time of year that I will never do at any other time. Andy,
seeing the matchup between the Bengals and the Bills last week, and it's rare where you're like, okay, the plan for the Bills this week should be throw to the tight ends, and then first play action, there is Dawson Knox, and there's not anybody 10 yards within him. Like, wow, this is enjoyable, and the tight ends are racking up yards. So I would think the Ravens, even though Andrews coming off, a subpar performance, or Isaiah Likely, you should start them. But I go back, it's not that far, Thanksgiving night, thinking, what the heck were the Ravens doing against this subpar defense? So your thoughts on, talk about teams that haven't been right, and maybe it's Lamar's health. Your thoughts of Baltimore going in and facing Cincinnati this week?
Yeah, listen, Isaiah Likely is about as snake bit as a player can get right now, right? He had the near touchdown last week where he definitely gets 2 feet down. He might have got a third foot down, and they whatever, on replay review they reversed that touchdown. The week before, he got stripped inside the 1 yard line at the end of what should have been like a 44-yard touchdown. So he's had a couple of close calls. And now likely gets to face a defense that basically Cincinnati's issue against the tight ends is that they have one guy who can cover, and that guy is never on a tight end, right? So tight ends are running free. They have 2 or 3 of the worst graded defensive backs in terms of coverage in the league, and that obviously has trickled down to the tight end. They've given up 15 receiving touchdowns to tight ends this year. They're like, historically, as far back as I could find data on production against tight ends, that we've never seen a defense like this. They're horrible. So yes, you want to play Andrews. Yes, I think you want to. If you're going to be proactive about any tight end, it's probably going to be somebody like Isaiah Likely. I also think that when we look at those 2 likely near touchdowns and then some of the other oddities that have befallen Baltimore over the last couple of weeks, I think Lamar Jackson looks better, just visually, just the experience of watching the games. I think Lamar Jackson looks better than the numbers are telling us, right? Like he had the Zay Flowers OPI a couple of weeks ago. I think he looks better on the ground now than he did, a month ago. So I'm not off of Lamar Jackson just yet.
Andy, let's not bury the lead, okay? This weekend might present some challenges with the climate. There might be some weather games, including one at Soldier Field. The lowest over-under on the board with our Bears hosting the Browns. I mean, this has to be a get-right for Caleb and company, yes?
Yeah, there's a couple things I actually want to say there. First of all, weather. People really freak out about weather and fantasy this time of year, and I just want to tell people there's no relationship between scoring, like game totals, and cold. We don't see that. In fact, some people have done some really good work, like large sample studies looking for relationships between cold weather and fantasy scoring. And if anything, teams score a little bit more in extreme cold. So let's not worry about that. You guys just witnessed like that crazy Buffalo-Cincinnati game in a blizzard, and there were 72 points scored and, over 700 total yards. So I don't want people to freak out about anything except extreme winds, and we're not going to have that in Chicago. That said, we are going to have the Browns and Bears, and these are not 2 of the most explosive offenses in the league. It's a really frisky Cleveland defense, obviously, with Myles Garrett pursuing a sack record. But they also are super banged up. I think I just saw that they had 19 people on the injury report, so that's not great. I do think it could be a get-right game for the Bears offense generally. I don't know that I expect a huge blow-up out of Caleb necessarily, especially given the health in the receiving core right now. But I think it's a pretty fair spot for the Bears. It was hard, my expectations now are, man, I'd really love this team to win a playoff game. So I was disappointed last week, but it was at least encouraging to see that the Bears were perfectly competitive with Green Bay, and it felt like I was watching a couple of future playoff teams.
Andy, last one for me, and it's just how long it's been here. You go back 1 week, we were getting ready for Cowboys and Lions, and what is George Pickens doing out there? And then, you had the drama. That was Pittsburgh George Pickens. I mean, what do you think happens here? Like, are they going to force feed him just to get past this? Cowboys hosting the Vikings. Your thoughts on a guy that, okay, maybe he figured this out, or maybe it was just a bad week on George Pickens here?
I think they have to treat it as a hiccup. I mean, the Cowboys are too close to the edge in terms of you've got to win out to if you have any hope of seizing a playoff spot. You can't mess around with trying to make people happy or trying to, cater a game plan to an individual player. That said, they've already been force-feeding him all season. It's basically been him and CeeDee Lamb. I would expect it to continue to be those two. So, as somebody who personally needs a significant contribution from George Pickens, I'm hoping that this is a one-off and not just a reversion to old Pittsburgh habits.
Andy, let everybody know about the Deep Shot and the work that you and everybody are doing there.
Yeah, thank you. It's me. It's Dalton Del Don. We've got ranks up right now. Dalton has a sit-start column. He's got DFS recommendations. We have a waiver wire column up there. It's all the good content from the old place. And you can find us both at The Athletic these days, too.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Andy, thank you so much. Let's do this one more time. Good luck in your playoffs.
Thank you. Good luck to everybody out there, too.
You got it. Andy Behrens. Check out his work at The Deep Shot, The Athletic as well. Love having Andy on with us. Happy hour is right around the corner. We have time for your calls if you want to join us at 866-4FAN. We're giving away free food right now at 866-4326. If you're caller 5, it's a $50 gift certificate to Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery, featuring one of Western New York's largest gluten-free menus. In addition to their pizza, you could stop by for some of their legendary carrot cake, chocolate dreamboat cake, and handcrafted cookie selection. 212 Rochester Street in Avon, now celebrating their 20th anniversary, open Tuesday through Sunday. A $50 gift certificate to Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery if you call a 5 now at 866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports.
The employer.
WROC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Christian Benford limited today with a toe injury. He was wearing a soft walking boot, not up to his ankle. He should be okay, you would think. Shaq Thompson talking about Drake May.
Coming from the NFC, I wasn't really paying attention to Drake, but the guy's a baller, man. He's all around special talent at quarterback. He can throw, he can run. He makes great decisions, and for me, he definitely got a lot better since his rookie year, right? I mean, that's what you want to see in a franchise quarterback. That's what you want to see kind of in any player, so he has my respect.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on the Fan Rochester. Tonight, we've got Buffalo Sabres hockey. They continue their trip out west. Stop is in Vancouver, 10 o'clock. The coverage will begin. Syracuse basketball tonight hosting St. Joe's. Teron Moore remains in custody. The former Michigan head coach has yet to be charged. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Week 15 in the NFL gets underway tonight. And, Gino, if you needed a reason, most of us don't because it's NFL and we'll watch. It's on Prime. But the Creamsicles against the Atlanta Throwbacks tonight.
Ooh.
Hot uniform matchup tonight in Tampa Bay.
All right, I'm tuning in. You twisted my arm.
Not that you weren't going to watch anyways, but just in case you needed a little added incentive, real hot uniform matchup. Fun show this afternoon so far as we welcome you into Happy Hour. Thanks for listening in the Odyssey app. Thanks for watching on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. We appreciate that. You can even get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Kent Sterling from the center of the NFL universe in Indianapolis joining us earlier today.
Yeah, he's gung-ho. He wants to see this like everybody else. Joining us about Phillip Rivers starting. Well, we think. He isn't even on the active roster yet, but we're all expecting him to get promoted from the practice squad on Saturday and be named the starter. We should mention Riley Leonard was taking first reps too, but it should be Rivers. I can't wait for this.
Andy Barron's not as high on the idea as most. Andy Barron's from the Deep Shot, who joined us last hour, saying this feels catastrophic. It feels like it could be a really, really bad decision.
That's why this is great.
Yeah.
People are divided on this. And we also talked to Carl Jones, WIVB, because talking about the Bills' defense, all right, it's New England. It's not going to be Christian Benford on Stephon Diggs, folks. Diggs lines up in the slot. That's not where Benford plays. That's the office of Taron Johnson. Taron Johnson, by his standards, Danger, not great. Okay, during the run, can Taron Johnson stick with Stephon Diggs this week? That's one of the storylines. Also talked about the running backs going to the outside. Carl Jones, great conversation at 4 o'clock.
This was Christian Benford earlier on facing Diggs, on facing the New England Patriots.
Just better execution, technique, and fundamentals. That's really it. Yeah, you learn how they use their players. You know what I'm saying? Who's in what position and what they're doing. So yeah, just play our game. You know what I'm saying? Just play our game.
Play our game. Well, his game might be Diggs on the outside, but if Diggs lines up in the slot, it'll be more on Taron Johnson.
Yeah, and then talking about how the Bills, all right, this isn't working against Joe Burrow. Let's blitz. Let's do some different things. That worked in the second half and provided those splash plays. So Bills a 1-point favorite in New England, where snow is in the forecast coming up on Sunday.
I like it. Story that broke yesterday while we were on the air. Right around this time yesterday, we heard of the University of Michigan moving off of their head coach, Coach Moore, and moving off of him for cause in what they believed was an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. And what has happened in the 24 hours since, I think, is fascinating. There's no shortage of rumors. There's no shortage of reports. And we just kind of wanted to review it all and timeline it out here as Now, the latest is, I believe he was expected to be in court tomorrow.
Right. And my read on this is it. Okay, can we all just kind of agree it's serious? This is a serious situation. And when you have a DA that is not used to going on this sort of stage, you've got to be kind of buttoned up. You got to make sure. And I'm sure there are attorneys, everything else that's going on. So this is one of those stories where there's a ton of things online, Danger. And we've learned over the years, don't rush to judgment on this. But tomorrow we're expecting the authorities to explain what exactly happened yesterday.
It feels like this is a fall from grace that happened virtually overnight. We remember Moore kind of like stepped into Harbaugh's role when he was suspended for games and, took over when Harbaugh left. And Harbaugh has basically been blacklisted. He's never going to coach in the college game again from everything that happened with the scandal of them stealing plays and just basically cheating their way to a national championship. Moore remained, became the head coach all of last year and all of this year. And then mid-November of this year, if you want to kind of know how quickly things moved, reportedly, mid-November, the University of Michigan Athletic Department received an anonymous tip alleging that Moore was engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member, which was identified in reports as executive assistant Paige Shiver. And a confidential internal investigation was launched mid-November. So we're talking about a few weeks ago, right? A month ago. Earlier this month, investigators reportedly found credible evidence that corroborated the tip. And lots of rumors have come out around this inappropriate relationship. Rumors about abortions, stalking, salary spikes, and even attempted murder. None of those rumors have been confirmed. That was earlier this month. And then you fast forward to yesterday, early in the afternoon, when university officials presented their findings to the athletic director, Ward Manuel. They made the decision immediately to terminate Moore's contract for cause. Moore must have caught wind that he could be in some sort of trouble because his staff and team met with the AD without him. At some point yesterday afternoon, Moore left the facilities and headed to an apartment complex.
The 3,000 block of Saline Road in Ann Arbor. So it's one of those that if you did enough digging, I think you can figure out whose house he went to here. That was at 410 yesterday. How do I know this? This is in the police report.
Unconfirmed rumors say that Paige Shiver resides there. Police were called to that residence right around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon regarding a domestic dispute. And that's where Moore has been detained by the Saline Police Department. And that's where we are. He's still, I believe, in custody.
Right. He hasn't been arrested. I mean, he hasn't been charged, I should say.
Right.
So he's awaiting charges.
And doing court tomorrow.
Doing court tomorrow. The thing that you can put laser focus is, a program that is known for cheating. Okay, granted, it's a game, whatever. You're going to steal signs and dress up your coaches and, the outfits of, other coaches of Central Michigan. Or
hilarious.
Yeah, hilarious. Ha, ha, ha. This is serious. This is a head coach who his executive assistant had an inappropriate relationship. And I think if you work for any corporation, the majority of them, that's a no-no, right? Or if you by chance have a relationship, you better go report it to HR. I'm not here to cast judgment on the guy's marriage or, he's married with 3 daughters, but I think it's just kind of worth throwing in there. But that's not illegal, okay? The fact that the school was told there was an inappropriate relationship, and now you get to this, again, alleged situation of domestic violence at 4:10 yesterday in the afternoon. Everybody at Michigan that knew about this and didn't do something, you fire them all. Fire the AD. This is the biggest scandal, Danger, since the Penn State thing with Paterno.
Well, I'll say this about what Michigan has done up to this point. If everything that's being reported is true, you can't say that they didn't move with swiftness here. I mean, we're talking about the course of a few weeks to a month where there was the anonymous tip to him being relieved of his duties yesterday. So in that regard, I think they look at least competent in terms of taking action against somebody who was engaging in something inappropriate.
Well, I would question, did they slow play it because you had Ohio State? That would have been a really bad look had you suspended the coach. Like, can we at least put this on ice here until December? Oh, yeah. This is the part where I'll just say this. If the stuff online is true, everyone knew what was going on. How could you not? Okay.
Hard for me to imagine that a guy in the public eye as the head coach of the University of Michigan would be able to get away with an extramarital affair without somebody knowing about it or catching wind about it. And, the anonymous tip, I don't know that we know how long this inappropriate relationship was happening, but the anonymous tip came reportedly in the middle of last month. And that's what sparked the
2 weeks before the Ohio State game.
Right. That's what sparked the investigation, the confidential internal investigation, and ultimately led to his dismissal.
Now, this is where I think, because of the nature of this, and you turn into sports to hear sports talk and hear us talk about the Bills, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think that's where the story should end. Except you turn on the TV this morning and there's Adam Schefter talking about who the next head coach should be in Michigan.
That's right.
And Maggie and Perloff, for that matter. Maggie, I consider a friend. Hey, I know maybe that's where your mind wants to wander to, but is that really appropriate right now?
Well, I'm not going to say it is or it isn't, but I will say if you're the school, that's absolutely what you want people talking about. You don't want people diving into the sort of details of this investigation and this coach. You want them talking about the future.
Yeah, can we get Kalen DeVore? Yeah. Can we get, who can we get? We want back to greatness.
We want to move on from this as quickly as possible. And so, you probably make a phone call to Adam Schefter, a Michigan guy, and say, hey, why don't we start some rumors? Let's start talking about who could be the next coach of this program, because that's going to be the quickest way that we can forget all of this. The idea that you had this guy who, if any of this is true, is a bad guy. He was your head coach for the last couple of years, and you had him under your employ for longer than that. One of Harbaugh's guys. Now, Harbaugh's fine. He's with the Chargers. He's never going to coach in the college game again. He's probably not entirely free and clear of once a cheater, always a cheater, right? Like, that's the saying. I think it's a saying for a reason. It is an ugly, ugly, ugly story for the University of Michigan, and it's in their best interest to get guys like you and I, Gino, to say, hey, who could it be? Who could they get? Who's available? Let's talk about that. Not talk about the victim in this, the alleged victim in this, or what this guy did with her during this inappropriate relationship. If some of what's being rumored is true, terrifying individual, scary, bad guy. So that's the latest out of the University of Michigan.
That is, you know who's a secret winner in this? Notre Dame.
No, Notre Dame needs to bitch louder.
No, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, if you bitch a little bit louder about being snubbed by the College Football Playoff Committee, maybe Michigan takes a backseat once again.
Okay, how about another secret winner? Hey, I'm divorced. If I want to date a 24-year-old, fine by me.
Oh, Bill Belichick?
Yeah, he's a winner today.
Yeah.
What does it matter? Does it really matter how I met her? No, we're in a consensual relationship.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. Crazy. College football has gotten it. I mean, we knew it was going to get wild with NIL. Did we know it was going to get this wild, this fast? I know this is not related to NIL, but just overall, college football right now feels like it's drunk off its ass. It is crazy with everything that's going on.
It's what we love, right? Politics and drama and money and everything else.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So the Bills injury report, Gino, if we can circle back to the Bills.
So Benford is the one that, wait a second, a toe. And look, you just heard the soundbite talking to reporters. But when I say walking boot, you have an image like a cane and the boot is up to your ankle. That isn't at all. This looks more like a sandal. We talked to Carl Jones. Said, I would expect Benford to be out there. But again, same kind of other results here on the injury report, too. Palmer limited, Joey Bosa limited. I'm not sure if we're going to see Bosa this week. And Bernard, again, limited. And, look, with the way Shaq Thompson is playing here, like, you got to make sure that Terrell Bernard is 100% before you're doing anything like that. All the tight ends are fine for Buffalo.
Spencer Brown mentioning yesterday that he'd be good to go. He is looking forward to playing spoiler on Sunday.
We're going to take pride in winning football games, and they have something for it, so we're going to try to take it away. I think that's the name of the game. They're going to try to take pride in it and be motivated to win. So that's the way it is. We try to win games. We're going to try to win games, and we'll find out on Sunday.
What did you learn about who this Patriots team is the first time around?
Don't turn the ball over against the Patriots. They're going to run the ball and take care of the clock and not really give it back to you, so we can't give it to them.
Feels
ding, ding.
Feels like a theme, right? You heard Josh Allen mention the same thing, right? Turnovers are going to be everything, and if you can hold on to the football, then chances are you're going to win this game.
Is it crazy to think that the last time the Buffalo Bills won in New England, 2021?
The last time they won in New England was 2021?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing. But you're right.
Yeah.
Huh. As of right now, and Gino, I know that this crossed your inbox, and
well, I get spam with, hey, buy this Bills thing, buy these, and they're like tickets. I'm like, tickets,
playoff tickets,
yeah,
playoff tickets on sale now.
So I do my own but the playoffs. You talking to me playoffs? I just want to beat the Patriots. Playoffs? I got it.
Playoffs?
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Yeah.
You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
It struck me as a little inappropriate. A lot would have to break in order for the Buffalo Bills to host a playoff game, right? You beat New England, and you would have to basically win out. You would need New England to lose 2 of their last 3. Baltimore, Miami, and the Jets. That's a win against the Jets. Look, it's possible. But, Danger, couldn't you wait until at least after this week? Or will some people do like, yeah, you know what, I'll get mine. Here's my money right now. And the Bills collect on the interest on that.
Best chance for them to host in the wild card round would be to win the division. They have a 6% chance right now of landing the 2 seed, winning the AFC East. So you can't say it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but it's a long, long shot. Better chance for the Bills right now is to land where they are. I mean, they control their own destiny. If they want the 6th seed, they know what they need to do.
Well, let's be honest. And you want the Bills home, right? Going to Pittsburgh as the 5, or say that 6% chance happens as the 2 you host the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm. Better chance, though they would need some help, a 38% chance that the Bills end up with the 5 seed, but they would, again, that's not completely under their control. But originally when I saw that email cross the inbox, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, right now the Bills and the Jags are virtual locks to at least make the postseason. So maybe you're just capitalizing on the excitement of our teams are likely in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then you give your deposit and you can roll that over to something else. I'm just wondering, is this really, say that ends up in New England. Hey, look, they're taking deposits for the playoffs here. I don't know.
Let's get to a round of shots next on The Fan.
Yeah, let's talk a little more college football as, we'll get away from the Michigan story for a minute because Notre Dame here. Oh, my gosh, the backlash against Notre Dame now. I'm almost rooting for this to happen. Is there going to be some organized effort here to work against the Irish here? Talk about drama. It's like Survivor on television here. Yes, we do have some baseball today. No, this doesn't involve the New York Mets. Sabres tonight. This tweet from Jeremy White today. Did you see this?
No.
Okay, we'll get to that as well. And we'll get to Danger's favorite sporting event, the NBA Cup.
Oh.
Why you're going to be disappointed.
I know. Okay. We'll get to a round of shots. Don't forget about last call. You can have the final word in the sports bar when you join us at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
Christian Benford limited today with a toe injury, was wearing a soft walking shoe after the game. You figure he's going to be okay, though. Shaq Thompson talking about the New England run game.
The run game is still good. You know, they got the young rook. He's fast, physical for his size. They still got Stevens. He's downhill runner. You know, he's going to bring the power. I think they're a great duo. They got a good offensive line. They got a good offense, you know, and we just got to be able to play our brand of football.
Coverage will begin at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on the Fan Rochester. Week 15 begins tonight. It's the Falcons and the Buccaneers in Tampa. Sabres after dark tonight. Buffalo looking to make it 2 in a row there in Vancouver. 10 o'clock for our coverage. Syracuse basketball tonight hosting St. Joe's. Sharon Moore remains in custody. The former Michigan head coach has yet to be charged. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
All right, we're back in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, thanks for joining us on The Fan. It's time for a round of shots as happy hour continues.
Yeah, as Notre Dame might not believe this, but the other 4 Power 4 schools, they're actually their partners in business.
Conferences.
Yeah, the schools and this, the Power 4 schools, the conferences.
Yeah.
Some of the partners are not happy right now.
Okay.
According to this report by Dan Wolken of Yahoo, athletic directors are threatening to freeze Notre Dame out of future schedules. The reason, it's about the preferential playoff access beginning next season for the Irish. The Irish will be assured of making the playoff next year if it is ranked in the top 12 starting next year. No other team in college football that doesn't win their conference has that assurance.
That's right. I get that. And, again, with where we are, I'm fine with all of this. I'm fine with Notre Dame not being in the college football playoff. They lost to Miami. That head-to-head matters. It was clumsy because of the ranking, and but all of that aside, I'm fine with Notre Dame saying, forget you guys. We're not going to a bowl game. Fine.
No, see, I'm not.
I'm fine with it.
No. Notre Dame, Roman Catholic, everything else.
Yeah.
That your school stands for, shouldn't you kind of be in line with that? And to me, it's immature what Notre Dame
We're
did.
above the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I think is what Notre Dame is saying to the world. It's like, yeah, we think we're better than you. We know we're better than you. We're not going to insert brand name. We're not going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, whatever it is, right? They have that right, just like any team has that right. We've seen plenty of schools decide to opt out of their bowl appearances. Fine. And I'm fine with this, too. Notre Dame is making a lot of noise about how they've been wronged, while at the same time knowing next year there's assurances that if they do what they need to do, they're going to be fine. They're going to be in. So other ADs saying we don't want Notre Dame on our future schedule, how does that work out for you?
Yeah.
You have every right to say that, and you also have every right to not reap the benefits of having Notre Dame on your schedule.
Well, maybe just the time has come for Notre Dame. This is more of a power play. Like, hey, we're not going to schedule Notre Dame. We will come to the Big Ten. Welcome on in. Come on in.
They're
Welcome to
not
the Big
joining
Ten.
a conference. They're not joining a conference.
Well, then what's this quasi-schedule thing with the ACC? Either you're in or you're out.
I mean, I don't know. How long is that deal for? Do we know?
I don't think there's any limit.
Yeah.
Like, basically, Notre Dame.
They kind of hate the ACC right now.
Well, and it's kind of ironic since they're partners. And in every other conference, in every other sport, they're in the ACC, right? Except, football, we'll schedule your Syracuse and Georgia Tech and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a fascinating story to follow, but ultimately, this time next year, we're probably talking about Notre Dame being in the playoff. Okay. This is exactly what college football wants. They want drama. They want us arguing over who should be in and who should be out.
We're feeding into
and
this.
we feed into
We're
it.
feeding into this. And ultimately, whoever Indiana plays, whether it's Oklahoma or Alabama, Indiana will win. So, 2 weeks from now, actually a little longer than that, it won't matter. Will not matter. Atlanta Braves have a new closer danger. His name's Robert Suarez, formerly of the Padres. Suarez led the National League in saves last season, converting 40 or 45 attempts for San Diego. He's 34. So the Braves got him at a discount, 3 years, $45 million. Now compare that, 3 years, $45 to the 3 years, $51 million the Mets signed failed Yankee closer Devin Williams. Yes, I'm injecting my own commentary here. By comparison, that looks pretty good value there.
You didn't mention anything about the birthday text I sent you yesterday.
I didn't want to. I go home, and there was danger. Happy
I
birthday.
didn't get any response, no thumbs up, no middle finger, nothing. I'm worried about you. I was going to call the executive producer. Is everything okay with Gene? Because he didn't respond to my text. I had a friend send me an isolated
Danger,
clip.
it was my birthday after hours. Read between the lines.
Leave you alone? I don't want to think about what you do after hours, okay, pal? I'm not going to read between the lines. I had a friend send me some audio from our Odyssey Sports sister station, WFAN in New York. And it was a caller who was upset at the Mets for doing what they did and upset at the Mets for letting Alonso go to the Orioles and the whole thing. The guy, well, you heard the call. Break it down.
Basically, it was a lot. The Mets bring in Devin Williams. The GM brings in his guy from Milwaukee, the guy from Milwaukee who gave up the home run to Pete Alonso that you just let walk out the door.
And the money that they're paying Williams.
Yeah.
More than, just kind of insane logic right now with the Mets. But keep telling yourself it's the offseason, man. It's the offseason. You don't have to get worked up.
Well, as where, and I'm reading our guy Jim Riley today, like, all right, Detroit, you're a Tigers fan. You're in a bad spot. Skubal, can you afford? Do you want to do this? What do you think? It's the time right now. Pay Tarek Skubal or trade him now. And if he gets traded now, and if, say, the Mets ended up, and any other team like that could be a big prize this offseason.
Are you wishing for Tarek? I mean, that would be massive for any team.
That would be, so that's why I'm bracing that he'll end up with the Dodgers here at some point.
Right. God.
Devin Levi stopping 38 of 39 shots last night. The Amerks smoking Belleville 6-1. 6 different skaters with multi-point efforts. Not a bad night. Now it's time to make some hay here. The team home for the holidays. First of 4 straight at the barn. Lehigh Valley coming in Saturday night.
Yeah, big win last night. And I think the Amerks are still a team that when they turn it on, they're going to be a tough out. Laval is a problem, but when you've got Oslin back, when you got Rosing back, and you've got Levi playing the way he played last night, they're going to be a tough team to beat in the postseason.
Our buddy Jeremy White tweeted out a picture of a grandfather clock and the Sabres with the eyeball emoji. What does this mean? Is the clock ready to strike midnight? And if who is that? GM Kevin Adams? Or it could just be as simple as if you want to listen to the completion of tonight's Sabres game, you're going to be up past midnight. Sabres in Vancouver, 10 o'clock Eastern. I will say this about Jeremy. He's got some source, and that's great that he's ahead of the curve on something.
Secret Sabre source, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yeah.
I've heard others reference the same thing. There's some whispers about what's going on with Kevin Adams. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's – I really don't know that that's a needle mover anymore anyways.
If – put it this way. Football Friday, welcome to Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack, Danger Night. That's where we'll be tomorrow. Let's say it happened tomorrow. We're talking about the Bills tomorrow. We're talking about college football. We're talking about what may have happened in baseball. Oh, by the way, the Sabres finally got around to firing Kevin Adams.
Right. They promote Jarmo Kekalainen.
Yeah.
And
now, if they fired Lindy Ruff, okay, like in accounts, like he's not under contract after this year.
Right. The thing that sucks is I really don't have any feeling one way or the other anymore.
Ooh.
Fire him. Who cares?
Ooh, disdain turning to apathy.
No, totally
Apathy
apathetic.
is wrong.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like, oh, you promoted Kekalainen.
Oh, who cares?
Oh, you fired Lindy Ruff.
Oh, who cares?
Oh, you made so-and-so, you stripped Darlene of his captaincy.
Oh, who cares?
Nothing moves the needle
yeah.
for me. What? Oh, you're trading UPL.
Oh, who cares?
You're going to promote Devin Levi.
Oh, who cares?
None of it matters to me. It's
Just
so
keep your paws off the Amerks. That's all that matters.
That's it. That's it. I mean, we've got a good thing going here with Rochester. I love what we see. I like Mike Leone. I like what he's done with this team. I like that there's a grittiness to this team. And leave us alone. They can't, but leave us alone.
Get off our lawn.
Yeah, leave us alone.
Danger, your dream of the Lakers winning another NBA Cup match came to an end. San Antonio beating Los Angeles. The Spurs to face OKC in the Western Conference Final.
See, it's funny because all I really saw was LeBron posterizing a guy. That was really the only highlight that I saw from last night's loss to San Antonio.
Yeah. This tournament that no one understands. The Thunder won last night. You know they're 24-1.
They're an absolute wagon.
That ties them with the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors, who they were very good too. For the best start in NBA history, it's now 16 wins in a row for OKC. That is also a franchise mark dating back to their days in Seattle.
It's fun for the Thunder fans. I just wish it was a team other than Oklahoma City that was having this success. We could embrace a little bit more. I mean, the players are fantastic. SGA is fantastic. They've got a great thing going at OKC. I just wish it wasn't OKC. I wish we were talking about any team really having this kind of a run outside of Oklahoma City.
Well, I mean, do markets matter? Because they play the game a good way, but I guess it's not against Oklahoma City. It's the way they got the team that I haven't gotten past that.
It is against Oklahoma City for me. I just don't think of Oklahoma City as like a pro sports hub. I don't think of it as a pro sports market.
Part of me is very, very jealous because going back years, it was some billionaire that he bought the Sonics knowing full well, lied to the people in Seattle, found a way, and got the team out of there and moved it to his hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Because Oklahoma City would, can I say this? Never get an expansion team. Never. So, like, along those lines, can you imagine somebody doing like that? It's a solid for Rochester.
Danny Wegman, you're our only hope. Danny Wegman, wouldn't you like an arena with your name on it?
I heard the Portland Trailblazers are for sale. I mean, just go in there and say, we've been looking at Wegmans to expand into the Oregon market. This is really good. And then come up, just be really obstinate about, the arena deal.
Hell, build it in Batavia. I don't even care. If you built an arena in Batavia for the Rochester Trailblazers, Danny, go ahead, and you'll get both markets to come by. I wouldn't be. I would be. I mean, look, a pro franchise in our area would be another one. Would be welcome, of course, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
No,
and just the idea that OKC, they get the title. That's great, but now they're on this great run, and I just wish, could it be somewhere other than Oklahoma City?
Well, if it ends up OKC in Detroit, and Detroit's 19-5. They're rolling.
Good start.
I mean, you're hoping the Knicks can figure this out.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the Knicks.
No.
I'm not too worried about the Knicks. I still feel, even though Detroit's got off to a good start, I feel like the East is still pretty wide open. That any team could step up and get the East.
Well, then Giannis is healthy, and that'll be the next thing. Where does he go to?
When he's healthy. Quick break. We'll come back. We'll close up shop, and we'll remind you where we are taking the show on the road to tomorrow here on a special edition of the Sports Bar Friday Football Talk Live tomorrow. That's on the way next. Last call at 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Fun afternoon in the sports bar today. If you missed Carl Jones from WIVB, if you missed Kent Sterling in the morning on YouTube, you can find those conversations wherever you get your podcasts. Search out the sports bar. That includes Apple Podcasts. That includes Spotify. Our guest appearances listed there. Or you can check out our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester and watch back to any part of the show you may have missed. It's Last Call at 866-4326, where we give you the final word at 866-4FAN.
Sometimes he has good takes. Sometimes they're just way too optimistic.
Or he's just trolling.
I still can't figure it out. But
One of the greatest trolls of all time, I think.
But he's a good dude. He's come out to a bunch of our events. John in Rochester. How are you, John?
Hey, I'm doing really good. You know, I got to tell you that it was the Kent from Indianapolis.
Yeah, Kent Sterling.
I'll tell you, I think everybody in America is pulling for Phillip Rivers. But you know what I think is going to happen? It's going to be a Nathan Peterson, or worse. It's going to be Muhammad Ali against Larry Holmes. Honest to God, I'm afraid for his health. But I would love to see him succeed, believe me, and I'll be watching. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is, I think we're going to clobber the Patriots, and I'll tell you why. They're going to be so keyed up. They're going to be overshooting gaps, the whole thing. It reminds me, the opposite happened. When Rex Ryan was coaching the Bills, we started off pretty good this one year, and New England comes into town. And, of course, they were the defending Super Bowl champs, blah, blah, blah. And we were so hyped up, we ended up getting killed. And I think that's going to happen to New England. What are your thoughts on that?
I remember that game. The Bills, week 1, they beat Andrew Luck, and the Colts like, here we go, Rex. And then week 2, that was the national game, and the Patriots came and they steamrolled. I don't think a Mike Vrabel coach team is going to find themselves so out of position here, John. But I do think that the Patriots are a little bit ahead of schedule, and I do think you can run on them. So that should be the combination where, okay, and including run, I'm going to say Josh Allen runs. That's also part of this. So you're going to give your prediction on the break room tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'll give my prediction tomorrow when we're out at Remedy inside Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack.
Can't wait. Love going out to Remedy inside of Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack. We invite you to come out for Friday Football Talk Live. We'll get you squared away. Everything you need to know from the final day of practice before the Bills travel to Foxborough. And we'll get you ready for your weekend of action. And what a place to celebrate action. Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack with over 1,100 video gaming machines, and Remedy with great live music, unbelievable food, just a great atmosphere if you want to watch the game this weekend. We invite you to come out and hang out with us tomorrow afternoon from 3 until 6 as we take the show on the road. Friday Football Talk Live from Remedy inside of Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
And we'll talk to you then, I guess.
Yeah. Lance Lysowski, Buffalo News, DA tomorrow. Damon Amendolara from the Bill Maddock podcast. I mean, a lot of Bills-Patriots talk. And I don't know. What would have to happen tonight for us to talk Sabres? They win in Vancouver?
No. Well, but I think we will have a little bit more color and some closure maybe on the Coach Moore case there at University of Michigan.
Oh, yeah. That we should figure out what that was about.
Yeah. Maybe put a bow on that one. That's it for today. If you missed any of today's show, again, Odyssey app, rewind. You can go back and listen to any part you may have missed, or our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. JR Sport Brief next. Sabres After Dark later tonight. Have a great night. We'll see you at Remedy at Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack tomorrow afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock on The Fan Rochester.